and they'll just sit there with a noose around their neck, and they'll wait for the cops to come walking by, and boom, and just hang from it. And what's good? Welcome to another episode of Kiko's P.A.I.N, the definitive channel of the Florida Chaingang, where we turn bad into good and pain into progress. I'm Kiko Cortez, and today we talking about going psych in the Chaingang. That's declaring a medical emergency and demonstrating some form of fashion that you plan on hurting yourself if left to your own devices. There can be many reasons why someone will go psych in the Chaingang, but generally it breaks down to you don't want to be where you're at. You don't want to be in the situation that you find yourself in right now. And that's the starting premise of everybody who goes psych. Now, there's various different ways of going psych. It can range from something as simple as putting in a request for a psychological evaluation, and then while you're speaking with that psychological expert, expressing that you have desires to hurt yourself, you can't sleep, you can't eat, so on and so forth, and generally that'll get some paperwork going. But the average non-psych prison isn't going to send you to a psych camp just because you were to do this at their camp, put in to see a therapist and express that you were going to kill yourself. The moment you tell anyone in the prison that you're going to kill yourself, they're going to immediately put handcuffs on you, escort you to confinement, and put you in a suicide cell in a turtle suit. There's no clothes, no boxes. You're in a room. Generally, it's a room with soft walls, but not always, but nothing that you can hang from or really hurt yourself with. And they'll leave you in there for days, feeding you in a little styrofoam tray until you say, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to kill myself. And they'll release you back to the compound where you're at. If they just let everybody come in there and sign some papers saying, hey, I'm going to kill myself, and then they transfer them to another prison where they can get on psychotropic medication, all right, people would be using that to get transferred every single day, and it would just mess up the system as it is. So you're gonna have to jump through hoops if you want to get transferred from a regular camp to a psych camp. For the most part, at most non-psych main unit camps, if you want to actually get transferred by going psych, you're gonna have to really show something, do something to show that no, yeah, I'm serious. I'm gonna kill myself if you don't intervene. And that's why you'll find that most people that go psych come from confinement. Because when you're on the compound, you might be miserable, you might really want to get out of a situation, but very few people are so frustrated with their situation or so intent on getting out of it at all costs that they're going to go through some of these methods of proving that they have a psychological emergency for real and get shipped. So the majority of the time, it's somebody back there in confinement, probably just got a bunch of time back there, or know that whatever situation they had in this prison that was worth staying there isn't going to be there anymore now because of whatever fallout just sent them to confinement. Therefore, they feel like, man, there's no reason for me to be here anymore. I'm in confinement. I might as well take it all the way. And the main ways that most people go psych automatically is going to get you there, number one on the list is cutting. And it's exactly what it sounds like and what I'm demonstrating. People would take a razor blade or some sharp object and they will cut themselves, generally right here in the crook of their elbow. And most of these guys, they'll actually tie off their arm like they're about to give blood or something or shoot up a shot. Tie it real tight, restrict the blood, and they'll sit there and they'll cut on themselves, wait for the cops to come around, and the moment the cops walking by their door, be like, hey, Sarge, untie their arm and let the cut just go to squirting right on the glass. The messier, the better. The more blood, the better your chance of getting taken serious. Of course, some places are so bad, inmates want to get away from these places so much that they're used to seeing people this desperate, cutting on themselves, and they'll sit there and goad you on. No, that's a scratch. I don't know what that. You ain't trying to do nothing, and it's really just gonna test your mettle. How far are you willing to go? How far are you willing to risk it to convince these people? Of course, the Florida Department of Corrections being unsnatched all razors out of the system years ago, mainly because of these suicide attempts and other inmates getting cut across their face with razor blades. But where there's a will, there's a way, and the inmate can generally always find something to make themselves bleed with. Another method that's not quite that common is hanging yourself. A lot of people just don't got the cojones for this. In this scenario, the inmate, again, generally in confinement, but not always, will take the sheets from his bed, find whatever the highest object is. It's usually some kind of bar or something on the window or the light fixture. Hang the sheet from it, and they'll just sit there with a noose around their neck, and they'll wait for the cops to come walking by, and boom, and just hang from it. And they're trusting that this officer is gonna hit this button, get this door open, and run and get you fast enough that you don't die. I've been in the confinement unit where an inmate did this, and whether he generally wanted to commit suicide or not, he had told the dorm sergeant several times, "Hey, I'm gonna kill myself. I want to go psych. I'm gonna kill myself." And the sergeant ignored him. And yeah, probably he was just trying to go psych and make a move, get up out of the situation he found himself in. Whatever his plans were and however it went, he mistimed it. And the next thing I knew, EMT units were running into the building, free world EMT running into the building, lights flashing, all the white shirts showing up, lights on, and a big spectacle goes down 3, 4 o'clock in the morning until finally inmates wheeled out on a stretcher. But this is a method that guys employ to try to get the point across that, hey, I'm gonna hurt myself. You need to listen to me. Another method is swallowing pills. It doesn't take any certain kind of pill. You can just stack up a bunch of ibuprofen, put them in a bag, and when an officer happens to be looking at you, down them all, and he's gonna get you the medical, have your stomach pumped. These are some of the most common ones. Of course, you got some extreme ones that I don't even want to really get too in depth with, but just leave it to say that people would take bodily fluids and smear them all over themselves in an effort to convince these officers that they're having a true psychological breakdown and they need to go psych, see a specialist, get on meds, etc. You never know when you might be on the compound at a wreck talking, and when somebody say, "Hey, you remember, bruh, how he got knocked off with the phone last week?" Yeah, you know what he did, bruh. They say when he got put in a holding cell in confinement, man, he boop on himself and smeared it all over him. And you're gonna be like, such and such did that? No, I can't see him doing that. That's some crazy ish. Bruh seemed like a cool dude. You know what I mean? And things like this constantly happen in prison. You're just always surprised by what somebody that you thought was somewhat normal might do. Until eventually you're not surprised at anything anymore. And now you might be asking, okay, boom, they convinced her they're going psych. What now? Well, the Florida DOC has 80, 90, 100, however many prisons. More prisons than you can count all up and down the state. But only a percentage of them are psych camps. These are camps where psychotropic medications are dosed every single day. Because the majority of camps, the only type of medication they're going to be giving out at the pill window is blood pressure pills, ibuprofen, basic stuff, basically over-the-counter type stuff. But at the psych camps, you'll have inmates that are on some form of AIDS cocktail, uh, psychotropic medications, pain medicines. Generally, the people with the more serious health issues will find themselves with these camps. But they also happen to be some of the most off-the-chain camps where all the drugs, all the everything going on all the time. So 9 times out of 10, if you get to a psych camp, at least this is for the majority of the 20 years I was inside. If you get to a psych camp, you're doing better time. Are you gonna be more and more around crazy stuff, more freaky, dicky, weird stuff that you don't want to know part of? Yes, you are. But there's gonna be more drugs, gonna be more action. 9 times out of 10, a psych camp is always popping. Of course, this is changing day by day when more camps become psych camps. So you've been on suicide watch for however long, maybe a week or so at your prison. You've convinced them through cutting or whatever you've done that you're a psych patient. You need to get sent somewhere. Boom, next step, you're going to go to a CSU camp. Crisis Stabilization Unit, that might be what it means, I don't know. But two of the ones I know about is at Charlotte and at Lake CI. You got some guys that they might be sentenced to years on CM and they're going to be locked down in the cell anyways. They'll cut, do whatever they got to do to get to these type of units because these units is flooded with nurses. The more medical it gets, the more nurses are going to be around. And, so of course these guys are in the cell for years, deprived of almost any sight, much less that of women, will go to extremes to get around some women. These units are kind of like an extension of you being on suicide watch, except you get some basic like your hygiene products, but you're still like in a smock, you're still being watched, and you're not allowed to have anything that you can really hurt yourself with. You spend a certain amount of time there, eventually they're gonna send you to a TCU unit. This like some long term. Now it's like almost being on CM, but it's different little amenities. I never went, so I'm not sure. The whole objective behind this, besides being around more women, besides being able to manipulate the system with your, oh, I'm gonna kill myself antics, and oh, okay, well, let's just give him what he wants in this instant. But a lot of guys, they'll just keep going psych. They'll stay psych as long as they have this psych status on them. Any like disciplinary reports that they have stacked up aren't catching up to them yet. And a lot of guys believe, and some of them have actually done it, if you stretch this process out long enough of staying psyched, that by the time you be like, okay, man, I'm not going to kill myself, and you go back to whatever unit, wherever you go to, that the DR will be dead off in the system, and you don't beat this DR, and it's not going to catch up to you. Me personally, I've had a whole lot of DRs. I spent years on CM. If y'all watched any of my other videos, you know I done did plenty of time on lockdown, and never once was it worth it to me to go through all this. For one, I'm not gonna cut myself. I'm definitely not gonna pretend I'm killing myself with a sheet. And as bad as some situations I was in, years stuck on the slab, I never felt like it was worth going through what all these fools go through. But that's just prison. Prison pushes people in different ways. If you don't have the strongest mind, spirit, body, everything, you're gonna crack. People just crack in different ways. Some people crack in real freaky, perverted ways. Some people crack in violent ways. Some people crack in hurting themselves. They call it beating the system and doing this, that, and the other, but really, you hurting yourself. Now, although I never cut myself, I never acted like I was hanging myself, I never smeared nothing on me, I have gone psych. I'm going to tell you about my experience because this is also an extremely common method. Fortunately for me, I was already at Charlotte CI where they got a CSU unit. But inmates coming from all around done cut, done went psych. They housed right here in the CSU unit. So it's a place that's used to signing off on psychotropic medication. All I had to do was fill out a request. Hey, I'm feeling depressed. I need to talk to somebody. Put it in the mail. A day later, they pull me out. I talk to a psych lady, and I give them the story that I'd learned from everybody else who done it. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I'm feeling suicidal, etc. They put me on Rimron. Bam, just like that, my psych grade went to S3. You were S3, you can only be housed at a psych camp. If you're not already at a psych camp like I was, man, you're going to have to take them through it. Or you're going to take yourself through it to convince these people to send you to a place like this. So the irony is, if you're already at a psych camp, it's easier to get a psych status, get on psych meds or whatnot, counseling, and have your psych grade go up. So it's easier to accomplish at a psych camp. Problem is, it's not worth nothing at a psych camp because you're not going to get sent to another psych camp because you go psych at this camp. All right, you're already at a psych camp. They're going to get your psychotropics figured out, get you some counseling, and they're going to put you back on the compound. Now, on a regular non-psych compound, this is the place where the play is going to pay off. You're trying to get from around there. You're going to have to go through it to pull it off. So how I feel about going psych in the Chaingang, it's just another tool to try to manipulate the system and put yourself in the best situation possible. Now, we all know it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So whether slicing your body open, risking your life, or smearing bodily fluids on yourself is justified by anything, I'll leave that to the individual. And some people might feel like even faking or actually taking psychotropic medication just to get to go to a place that you want to go to is crazy and foolish. And that's their right to make that decision. Everybody has a level that they won't go to. But just below that level is a level that you will go to. And another person can judge you for that level just like you judge another person for this level. At the end of the day, those are your morals. And if you're living up to your morals, how can any man judge you?